Money and Me on Your Money, only on Money FM 89.3.
We are talking women and money. Welcome to Money and Me. I'm Michelle Martin. Now, if a long runway is important to maximize your returns in the investing world because it helps make compound interest work for you, then women living longer means we have more time on our side. So will you, as a longer living woman, reap the potential windfall of staying invested for longer? What are some of your considerations? We'd love to hear from you. This morning, we're hearing from Camilla Dahl Hansen, who is Chief Saxo Experience Officer at Saxo Bank. Good morning, Camilla.
Good morning, Michelle.
It's great to speak with you again. Thank you for coming by. So Taylor Swift is in town and you have tickets.
I do have tickets for Monday.
Oh,
yes. I'm looking so much forward.
We're all envious. Taylor is here for her Eras concert. And I understand you have a very interesting approach to investing as well that involves this concept of thinking of time in terms of eras.
Yeah, I think we all need to think about timing when we actually go into investment, right? And I very much approach my investment, and I think we all should be inspired by that, exactly as Taylor Swift is doing, right? She's going through different eras in life, and she has actually been very curious and able to transition from one phase of life into another phase of life, right? So I think from an investment perspective, we should be inspired by her and thinking about how do we constantly stay curious? How do we stay invested, right? And how do we actually go through stages? So I think about it as 4 different stages of investments, right?
Love it.
So the first one being where you actually start thinking about, can I do something where I get a good return, right? It could just be a savings account where I get a little bit more attractive interest rate on my savings, right? So that is the simple investment where you actually start seeing the benefit of some cash products where you get a better return. And then when you have start seeing the benefit of actually you beating the inflation, right? It's often where you get more curious about how can I get more out of my money. And that's where you go to the second phase, where you go more into what we call the managed portfolio. So somebody is also taking care of your investment, but you still know maybe an area that you want to invest in, a theme that you want to invest in, and you see the benefit of a little bit more return. And then the third one is where you actually start picking some stocks, where you see that you engage much more yourself, you're getting much more curious, and that's where you also start seeing the dynamic of the different investments that you're doing, right? Yeah. And that's where normally you go into the 4th stage where you are much more leveraged, meaning that you're much more risk-taking, that you're much more actively invested. So that's normally the phases that we see a lot of clients are going through. Right?
I like how you divided these phases into how experimental you are and how interactive you are with the investment world, because you can be in any of these stages at any age of life.
Yes,
essentially, right? This is about your comfort level as well.
Yes, exactly. It's about your comfort level. It's of course also about you thinking about your financial situation in general and find out how much can I actually free up to do my investment. And also from a time perspective, right? Because it also takes different time in order to which stage are you in. It actually also takes time sometimes to do your investment.
It does, and you want time on your side.
Exactly.
Our last conversation was 2 years ago, Camilla. I can't believe that. And we talked about closing the investment gap. And this is talked about quite a bit. Fidelity last year said 60% of women invest in the stock market. Just 60.
Yes.
Not higher. And 68% saving for retirement. It is young women that are interested in investing. 71% of Gen Zs invest. 63% of millennials invest. I'm surprised, actually, that's kind of low. What are your thoughts on what you're seeing on the ground of women and the interest and curiosity and action when it comes to investing?
Well, we do, exactly as you were pointing out, we still see statistics that not all women are invested to the degree that I think we all should be, right? Because for me, it's very much about also seeing that you take control of your life, right? Yeah. So here again, being inspired by Taylor Swift, right? It is about being invested in yourself. It's very much about stay confident in what you actually believe in and then turn it into investment so you can actually be financial confident, right? So I think that is the overall thing that we need to constantly communicate and appreciate, that our also female clients should be more attracted to that part, right?
Yeah, also, we like being in control of what we can control.
Yes.
Right? We like knowing we can reduce our expenditure in this area, or we can grow our money pot in relation to a certain goal. And you can start to take control of your finances by, it doesn't have to be very much money at all.
No, it doesn't have to be. And the thing is, when you actually start investing, right? I started investing myself in a young age, and I didn't have that much money to
How old
invest
were you?
it. I was 22. And I was studying next to my, and I was working next to my studies, right? And for tax reason, we have an extreme tax rates in Denmark. It was actually beneficial to start doing some small investment, right? So I did it on a very, very low, it was not that many money, right? I was just investing a little bit, and then you actually get hooked to it when you see that it pays off, right?
Yeah.
So looking back, I'm always regretting that I didn't put more money in, right? But that's part of it. But I think that's the thing, that women also need to, be curious into that and start doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because when you start seeing that it pays off, well, that is also where you get more curious, and then you also go more into it.
I'm telling you, it's an oxytocin hit when you see what you bought in 2011 and where it is now, and you look at that beautiful chart. It does give you a lot of confidence in the decisions that you've made, and you learn from the decisions that you regret as well along the way. Just quick question. You are Chief Saxo Experience Officer at Saxo Bank. I tried out your platform. I love it, honestly. It's very easy to understand, very easy to navigate and get through. Is there a minimum amount that a woman would have to park in to get started?
No, there's no minimums. So you can always get started. You can also start just funding your account, meaning that you put some money on, and then you can try to navigate it. Be curious about, we are trying to be really good at give some inspiration for what could be your first trade. What should you be aware of when you start investing and trade? So there's a lot of inspiration on the platform. So that's really our aim, is to exactly also speaking to a broader audience, is to make sure that we actually get some good inspiration for everybody to start investing. So there's no minimums. It's about getting in, fund your account, and then see when you think there's a good opportunity.
Love that.
Yeah. So and then I think it is about also staying curious into what is the risk of being invested, because of course it comes also with a risk, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's also where women need to lean into it, right? And actually go from thinking that you can avoid a risk. I don't think you can avoid any risk in life in any aspects.
Well said.
The same comes to investments, right? But you need to be risk aware, meaning that you need to look into, so what is the different risk, right? And we just know when you have a longer term perspective, which is also normally what women would have when they go into investment, well, you actually navigate over time as long as you stay in the market, right? So I think that's the typical rule for being invested, is don't try to time the market, but be in the market, right? So meaning don't sell in and out, but be in the market, right?
Be in
and
the
then
market.
navigate your risk, of course, when doing it.
And you can jump in every month. You can start small, see where $1,000 gets you, see what you can do with $1,000 as a little experiment. Or you can have a regular savings plan, which you do have on your site as well.
Exactly.
To help you build a position over time and stay invested.
Exactly.
Talk to us a little bit about your own journey in the investing eras.
Yeah, so as I said, I started early with a smaller amount. So I was growing it, I think, through my own changes of life. I was also growing my investment. So looking back, it was not that planned, right? Today, my investments are quite planned. I have a time horizon. I have different buckets of my investment. So I have, of course, been more advanced over the years, also due to my job, right? I've been working in finance for many years. So set that aside, I started small. And then when I went into career changes, that could be a new job, I got offered some stock options, right? Which meant that I actually started looking into individual stocks. Then I saw, okay, I'm very heavily exposed to one stock, quite risky. I need to diversify a bit. So I was actually learning step by step when I was introduced to new phases in my own life, where I got opportunity to invest more, right?
So interesting.
So I would say that I have actually used a parallel track of my life to be inspired for how to do investment, right? And of course now I'm in this good situation where I constantly are inspired by new investment. I'll get educated through my job, right? And I think that's actually a crucial point, that we need to be better at actually open up, talk about our investments. We know that over 80% of women do not like to talk about their finances, right? And that has also been a learning for me, and through my investment journey, I have never talked about my investments or my financial plans in general. But now I actually also start to open up about that.
Thanks for sharing all this with us.
I think it's super important,
It
right?
really
because
is.
if I had just listened in and learned a bit earlier, right, well, that would have been even better. So I think we all need to learn
It's
from
social capital for women out there who may not have worked in finance, may not come from a family that other family members have seen other family members invest. So it's super, super useful for everybody. What do you say to the woman who doesn't understand what a CFD is, who doesn't understand leverage, but wants to get started in the investing world? What should she be doing to not just get started, but to also advance?
I think, well, first of all, open up, listen in and share, ask questions. So I'm not invested. Could be a question, what are you invested? In that case, what are you invested in? And then ask the questions, right? What is an ETF? What is it, right? So I think that's a good starting point. And then we're also in a good situation. There's a lot of great materials out there where you can actually read in, you can listen to podcasts, you can read books, right? I have my favorite book that we have in Denmark. My daughter, 12, is reading that, right?
Which one?
Which is called Women Just Want to Have Funds. So it's it's a Danish group called Female Investors that have been written that book, right? And it's really inspiring, and it's so easy that even, as said, my 12-year-old can read it, right? So start with getting that kind of inspiration, and then download an app. Go into as you are talking about. We do have a quite easy app in Saxo that you can actually download, and you don't need to put a lot of money. There's no minimums on it. So get curious into it and navigate it, because then when you start seeing, and you can play around. We also have a demo account where you can actually play around and pretend that you are investing the money and see how it pays off, right? So I think it's about having that curiosity in life in general, and also towards your own investment.
Fantastic.
And then take charge, right? Think about what do I want to get out of it? Right? Do I have any dreams and ambitions that I see in front of this? I think that's a driving force for a lot of us to stay invested over time.
Do you think men move through their eras faster than women?
I definitely do. I think they do. And they are also, we often talk about men not being at risk adverse as women, right? So I think that's part of it. But I also, and I love that point, that women are much better investors. So we actually see from statistics that they get better returns. So women do, if they go into investments, they are better investors, right? And it's because they are actually really good at not selling and buying all the time. They stay in the market. They actually build often a plan, and they stick to that plan. And that's good when you talk about investment. Have a plan, be cautious about what you're doing, and not panic, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us women actually to be invested and succeed very well when doing it.
Based on your own experience, how have you managed to sort of keep the emotions separate from the decisions that you make in the stock market?
Well, I think it's about, in times when I know some of my portfolio is not performing, I'm actually not interacting with it that much, I have to admit. So I'm actually staying a bit out. And I know how it's performing overall, so I'm not looking into it on a daily basis. Because if I see the graph going up and down on a daily basis, then you start wondering, right?
Yeah.
Is this continuing? Should I do something? Should I sell? Should I buy something else, right? So sometimes it's also about looking back at what is your strategy here. I have decided to stay in an investment for 20 years. I don't need the money right now. Over time, I know it goes up, right? So all statistics shows that it's better to stay away, not interact and panic.
What are some actionable steps do you think parents can share with their young daughters in terms of helping them get started through these eras?
Well, yeah, that's a big passion of mine to talk about that, right? I have 3 daughters, and I think it's super important that, first of all, that they know that being financially confident is and have control of your finances is a part of being an independent person and take charge in life. So I think it's such a key component to actually get that control and get that overview, right? And then I think it's very much to actually start, also invest some of their pocket money. And that's what I have done with my kids, right? So they can they have some stocks where they know the company, they can relate to it. And they get these physical letters, right? Still receive that on a quarterly basis and can see how much it has actually performed, right? And that's where they also start asking me questions. So I think, again, start small, right? Get them into it and let them know the impact of them actually being invested, right?
You can invest with them along the way as well. Ahead of International Women's Day, which is next Friday, what do you want to most say to women about money?
Well, I think take charge, right? I think that's important. Don't let others take the responsibility for your money. Take charge. Know your finances, but also know your goals in life financially. What do you want to achieve? And then build a really, really good plan and stick to that.
Do you think any woman can teach herself and develop into a very good investor?
Definitely. There's a lot of opportunity to do that. But don't be too ambitious in the beginning. Simply, as we said, start small and see and learn along the way and find your own way of also doing it, right?
Oh, I like that. And let's talk about fees a little bit. So if you start small and then you decide you need a little bit of a break because you want to do some learning before you jump back in the stock market, are there any fees associated with Saxo in terms of dormant accounts?
No, there's no fees related to that. So we have just introduced a new price scheme, and there's none of these fees left. So it's very attractive. And I think that's also a good reason for actually going to investment, because a lot of offers, when you get a lot of investment, is that you actually have quite high fees when doing being invested, right? So it's good. Start small because you don't have that fee, and then you can also be more curious and actually do some trades, do some different investment. It doesn't cost you much.
Can we talk to you every International Women's Day?
Yes, you can.
Thank you so much for joining us, Camilla.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Camilla Dahl Hansen is Chief Saxo Experience Officer at Saxo Bank. I'm Michelle Martin. Thank you for joining me here on Money and Me.
Money FM 89.3.